Big WNBA news yesterday. Before we get into the game action from last night, according to reports, DeWanna Bonner wants out of Indiana. She has now missed 5 straight games, including last night's, has not played since June 10th for personal reasons. And according to Annie Costabile, who is basically at this point the Woj Shams of the WNBA. She seems incredibly tapped in, and her reporting is usually pretty valid. According to her report for Front Office Sports yesterday, Bonner has no interest in returning to the Fever, and she would prefer to get traded to the Mercury or the Dream, or to end up on one of those teams via buyout. The Mercury is where her fiance, Alyssa Thomas, plays. But this is huge for the Fever because they gave Bonner a big old contract, close to a max contract in the WNBA, to come in and add experience, to add defense, to add scoring, and it just wasn't working out early. She got moved out of the starting lineup to the bench, and according to this Front Office Sports report, that was something that she expected to be a part of when she signed up for this, was to be a member of the Fever's starting 5, and I do think the biggest loss in all of this, if it turns out to be true and she does not play another game for the Indiana Fever, she was supposed to be their vet. Like, she leads the WNBA in all-time playoff experiences. She has 2 championships. She came into the league in 2009. I mean, Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston were babies. They were children at that time. And you put all of that, and it leads to, Aaliyah Boston talking about this is the vet they've always needed. Caitlin Clark calling her the most important, the strongest voice in the locker room. And now for that to turn into a position where it doesn't look likely that she is coming back, that's a tough loss for this Fever team in the middle of the year.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. And in addition to the vet leadership, she's a player who produces. She can put points on the board. She's a tremendous defender as well. And I didn't know moving her from the starting lineup. I'm curious to know how that was done. I hadn't seen anything about it. I don't know if the coach just made that decision. I would assume you got DeWanna Bonner on your team. You talked to her beforehand about that. But also just, we talked about it like game 3 or 4 of the season, where it's, hey, you've got her. Maybe she can alleviate some of the burden off of Caitlin Clark, right? You've got to find a way to use her in a way that is beneficial to her, and that can take some of the ball handling responsibility, some of the ISO one-on-one nature that Caitlin Clark plays with, ball dominant nature that Caitlin Clark plays with, that can take some of that off of her and allow you to play a bit more of a free-flowing style of basketball. And maybe, because they couldn't figure that out, DeWanna Bonner's like, yo, I don't want to play this style. I don't want to just stand over here in the corner and watch Caitlin Clark dribble and take a shot, probably make a shot, but take a shot that is somebody else wouldn't be allowed to take, right? And rightfully so, because Caitlin Clark can make those. Everybody can't make those. And so maybe it's a style of play thing where it is, hey, this style just isn't a fit for me. I hope more comes out, because I'm really curious to know. Because on paper it was, this is going to be great for everybody. This is good for everybody involved. And also, it does kind of suck. She spent so much time playing with AT, her fiance.
Yes.
This is the first season in 4 or 5 years that they aren't on the same team. So I think that might play a role in it also. But I look forward for more of it.
Kids with, I think, her previous relationship, but I think those children are very close to Alyssa. Mm-hmm. And listen, the official reason that DeWanna Bonner's been out is personal reasons, and so I don't like to speculate. You never know what's going on in somebody's life, right? So I see a lot of the sentiment of, like, good riddance, get rid of her if she doesn't want to play here. Like, you have no idea if there's something serious going on behind the scenes. It could be so much more than just petty problems, basketball problems, whatever. But there was, this report yesterday that she removed Fever from her bio, but I'm unclear if she ever really had Fever in her. I was trying to find somebody who had an actual screenshot of her previous bio that included the Indiana Fever. Didn't find that. Somebody reported that the player banner was taken down in Gainbridge, but it was up at their last home game. So this is still something that is being worked through. I just don't know how they're able to trade that contract from a finance standpoint. And then if you end up just having to let her walk, that's a tough loss for the Fever too. But if they do let her walk, they could immediately turn around and sign a player who is
Sign
going
your
to
girl.
play for them. Who's my girl? Oh, Ari? Mm-hmm. I think they need a big.
Okay.
I would
you would have to
someone in the
need
front
a
court
need
to
a need a
fill
big
that
if
up.
you're losing DeWanna.
I would love for them to go after one of the two players who have been like so big for the Valkyries while so many other players are playing Eurobasket. Letitia, is it Amahir? I think Amahir is her last name. She's been awesome. But someone like that who had such a great like tryout per se, kind of like Ari McDonald had a great tryout and she still hasn't found her place on a roster in this league. I just don't necessarily think the best use of the Fever's resources is to sign another guard, given that they would be losing DeWanna Bonner in that case.
Even with the recent struggles of Caitlin Clark.
Even with the recent struggles. She is in a slump. She is in a 3-game slump, if we are calling it that. The Fever did win last night in spite of Caitlin Clark only having 6 points, 9 assists, and 8 turnovers. And when you look at Caitlin Clark's shooting numbers over the last 3 games, she is 1 of 23. I did that math right. Oh my God. Now you have me so stressed out about my mathematics skills. 1 of 23 from 3 over her last 3 games. She has made just a single 3-pointer. Obviously, the 8 turnovers were big yesterday, too. However, I think it's encouraging to see the Fever beat a Storm team that had been playing very well. There is some inconsistency with the Storm team. However, you got a massive game from Aaliyah Boston, career-high 31 points. You had a huge game from Kelsey Mitchell with 26. And then Lexi Hull continues to prove that she is, a massive piece of the score. She had her first career double-double last night. And even her comments about Caitlin Clark after the game saying, she's slumped, she'll get out of it, I think are very encouraging. But if the Fever can win a game where Caitlin Clark plays not very well, particularly on the scoring side of things, that is a good place for the Fever to be. That's what you have to learn how to do in basketball, period. Like every team that has been reliant on a high-volume scorer, if they're able to win when that high-volume scorer is on a slump, that's best case scenario.
Yeah, best case scenario. But this team is only going to go as far as Caitlin Clark carries them, right? Like it won't be, and I love Aaliyah Boston, so maybe Aaliyah Boston can get them through some rounds of the playoff or get you a game in the playoffs. But this team is built on Caitlin Clark's production, particularly on the offensive end of the court. If she's doing that, that does not bode well for how far this team can go in this year's iteration of the W. And it feels like just watching the game, there are no easy shots for Caitlin Clark now. In Iowa and last year in the W, she would get easy shots. She's tremendous at making tough shots. I don't want to take that away from her. But she's also, at least in years past, really good at getting easy looks at the rim. Easy looks getting downhill and finishing at the rim, or easy looks from 3 where they're not all logo threes. There are threes closer to the 3-point line and threes where no defender is around. And this year, I've watched a handful of those games, and it seems like if she's taking 13, 14 shots, 11, 12 of them are heavily contested, really tough shots. She's not getting the same caliber of look. And I'm curious to know why that is. That can't, because you're playing different teams. So it's not like everybody's an elite defensive team in the W. You should be getting or able to get easier looks than what the ones you're getting are. Against the Liberty, right? That a great moment, great game. But even the threes that she was making in that game, even the shots she was making in that game, they fell, but they were contested. The threes she made over Breanna Stewart, that was contested.
Yes.
And that was just a great make by Caitlin Clark. It's a whole lot of those.
She's capable of doing.
She's capable, but
you're inevitably going to face.
Why make your job harder than what it has to be? They've got to find a way to get easier looks for Caitlin Clark. Now, I don't know if that means allowing Mitchell to facilitate more of the offense, or trying to play through Aaliyah Boston, or trying to, in moments with Caitlin Clark on the court, just being like, hey, Caitlin, don't shoot it. We'll work it around and let somebody else take a shot to soften up the defense for you later on in the game. I'm not sure what the fix to that is, but it is very clearly a problem that very clearly, obviously, needs a fixing. Because you can't have Caitlin Clark out here taking 24 tough shots in the playoffs and expect to get far. That's just not going to work.
The Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt, live every weekday at 8 a.m.